A prolific professional player pleads that people pursue a non-punitive protestation to powerful play pieces in Magic. What does that mean, alliteration aside? That Uro is too strong. But that's not a bad thing. Hey everybody, and welcome to the Knowledge Pool, a think tank of games and magic. Today we're going to talk about something that has a lot of heat underneath it. As we've talked about before in the past, many people call for bans of cards that they think are too strong, overpowered, they create bad play experiences, and we've gone into detail on what we think of that subject. However, there are protestations on the other side that talk about how asking for a ban all the time is just being overly harsh and not being ready to critically think about what you need to do in order to change the play experience through the meta. This came to my mind recently because I saw a professional player who I have a great deal of respect for talk a little bit about how he believes that there's a time where you just need to start playing towards the meta that you see. If something's a problem in the meta, you build something that plays against it, and the meta corrects itself over time. The way he stated it makes a lot of sense if you're thinking about it from a particular mindset. If you're thinking about it from another mindset, it may have seemed a little cold and uncaring. I want to talk a little bit about these mindsets and what they mean in terms of what people want from a game like Magic. I'm talking about Arena. Specifically, I'm going to be talking about Arena in terms of ladder and non-ladder play. Now that that's all out of the way, here we go. So when we start talking about mindsets, there tends to be a couple words that get thrown around a lot. The first one being competitive, and the other one being casual. A competitive mindset merely means that you are thinking in terms of competition. Any level of competition, big to small, even as small as a friendly competition amongst people who know each other. It would be easy to say that casual means everything else. It's not really about the win or the loss. It's not about trying to continually rack up wins, but it's about keeping a certain mindset of just enjoying the game with the people around you. Now, there is all kinds of research and psychology that goes behind all of these ideas of being competitive versus being casual, or having fun while winning, or only having fun while winning, or trying to figure out how to balance losing with having fun. I think the first thing we use to divide the casual versus the competitive are their motives. What drives you in order to play Magic? A lot of these motivations break down to two notions: having fun versus winning. Motives are fluid and can change based on the time of day, what's going on with your personal life, how excited you are for a new set, any number of things. This deeply scientific chart shows you the range of motives that I could have on any given day playing Magic. And while I consider myself to be a fairly reasonable person who cares a lot about the community's fun, I will say that I am not above playing a heinous deck in order to get some wins in when the chips are down and I'm just trying to finish some quests, or even after I've lost a bit and feel like winning. These forces may seem diametrically opposed, but every person has the capacity of playing casually and playing competitively. A good example of this is a friend of mine who I've probably mentioned before on the show. I consider him to be quite the brewer. He is very, very adept at making sure that he's playing fun and kind of interesting builds. But when we sit around the commander table, sometimes it feels like it's okay if anybody wins as long as I lose. And as much grief as I give him about it, that's a valid motive for playing a game. I do tend to sit towards the higher placements at our tables, usually first or second, on a regular basis, and after dealing with that for a while, your motives can switch. And in those moments where he's ready for me to lose, my motives switch, and I become a little more hyper-focused on winning. Hence, fluidity. Motives also tie to another thing that tend to split casual versus competitive people: goals. Now, a lot of people might say that motives and goals are the same thing, and in some cases they're right. But when I'm talking about goals, what I'm specifically talking about is an end game, where they're planning to go in the long run when it comes to their Magic. Some people play Magic for years and years and never go beyond the kitchen table. And some other people tend to try to drive as high as they can possibly go. It used to be called the Pro Tour, now called the Mythic Championship, but the ideas are the same: to be the best of the best of the best. And there are a range of goals in between, not unlike the motives that we saw. Unlike motives, however, though, goals tend to not change unless they change severely. For example, a player who plays casually for many, many, many years might suddenly decide to go competitive. But once they're going competitive, their goals are competitive goals. They don't tend to just want to be the best at their F&M and never go further than that. Conversely, a player like me who used to be majorly competitive and now has more casual goals tends not to drive themselves as hard when it comes to getting the W over and over and over again. So where am I going with all this? What does it have to do with what was said? So the main comment that was kind of stated was this idea that back before Arena, if a card was doing too well, you would simply play something that fights against it. You would shift your meta perspectives to get that off of the field. And in a lot of ways, that works really, really well, especially from a competitive standpoint. Imagine this. You're playing paper Magic in a room full of 1,000 people playing paper Magic. And you've brought a deck that is specifically built to beat the deck that you know is going to show almost 50% of the matchups. Not only does that put you in a great place to succeed in this huge room, but it will give people eyes on things that can beat the major deck of the time. Before the fire philosophy that Magic added to things to make the game more interesting, it wasn't unheard of to see months and months go by without bans, even year or 2 years go by without seeing a ban in a particular format. Bannings in Standard were pretty rare for the most part, because even if a card was really powerful, it wasn't going to stick around long enough to make it a permanent banning situation. So you may suffer through a few months of playing either the biggest deck or the deck that beats it. And this can lead to some seriously ingenious ideas. I'll talk more on that in another combo break later. But the big difference of this mindset when it comes to current Magic interface is Arena. Arena is so huge. Millions of people are playing, and on any given day, you could be playing thousands upon thousands of people at any moment. For competitive play, this doesn't change the mindset that much. If you can create a deck that works against the majority deck that's coming through, it gives you an edge to win and get some eyes on the cards that beat other cards. But what if you're not playing for that reason? What if you just want to be able to log in to Arena, play a few games, and log out, and be able to have had a semi-decent time while doing it? Unfortunately, there's not really a place for that in the current system. But Dish, I hear you cry, what about the play queue? To which I say, what about it? I cannot tell you how many times I've had to fight historic goblins while I'm playing Black Pauper Historic in the play queue. And that exists because of the way that prize structure exists within the play queue. For a lot of people whose fun is only tied to whether or not they get their wins, or maybe they're just busy people and they want to make sure they get their wins out of the way for the day, is that they'll play these top tier tournament decks in the casual queue because they know that it will win a majority of the games. There's even this notion on Reddit where it's like, if I run into a competitive deck on the casual ring, I'll just concede so that I can get more games in the way that I want to play. And that's certainly one way to handle it, but you can see how this can be a problem. Since all players have all the same amount of access to every queue, but they don't have the same amount of access to cards, it can create a feedback loop where the only people getting wins that are allowing them to get the gold to build up their cards are either the people who can spend tons of time on the game or the people who are willing to play higher level decks in lower level queues. I've found myself once or twice telling people to avoid the play queue entirely and just play on the competitive ladder. Because between bronze and gold, you are more likely to see variety on the ladder than you're actually likely to see it in the play queue. I think Wizards has tried a lot of different ways to fix the play queue, in particularly ways to make it so that people who want to play lighter Magic have a way to play lighter Magic. One of these things are the events that they put out where you can put in a little bit of cash and play with a pre-constructed deck. Or maybe play open-ended Magic with all cards available to you on this one singular event. Jumpstart was a great way, in my opinion, to get the casual players excited to play with competitive players while putting them on a semi-even playing field. But sometimes you just want to build your own deck. Sometimes you just want to go swing in with Elder Gargaroth, and that's all you want to do. So sometimes Wizards puts in an event that has strict ban lists specifically for that event. If you ever played the Historic Artisan queue on Arena, you would know what I'm talking about. This is an attempt on Wizards' end to find a way to let players who feel like they don't have a place to play to get out there and play. And that's commendable. Here's my question. Why can't it be the play queue? What if the play queue had its own ban list, and that ban list was the make or break card of the top 4 decks in Magic? Taking these cards out of rotation in play queue will do nothing to hurt the ladder, but it would give a home to the casual players who just want to sit down and play Magic without getting beat on by the tier 1 deck over and over again. It will never stop casual players from being able to play on the ladder if they want to. If you want to test your new build against the prolific decks of the time period, ladder is the place to do that. Competitive play will continue to be competitive play as it always is, but casual play will evolve. Another idea that was brought to me while thinking about this was creating another queue that the rewards for playing in this would be phantom cards that only play within this casual setting. Those cards would be banned, and you would not get those cards as rewards while playing in this format. However, all cards you got in this format as rewards would only work in this format. I'm not a big fan of this for a couple reasons, but the main reason is not building your collection does not help you later down the line should you decide to switch gears and try to play on the ladder. But anyway, that's what I've been thinking about it. Please tell me what you think in the comments below. What's something that WotC can do for the casual player? Should they do something for the casual player? Any and all comments are welcome. And thanks for watching. Don't be shy to hit like if you like the video and subscribe. Tell a friend. Any amount of good word helps the channel grow and makes us better. Also, I have a Ko-fi and the link below. Please follow it if you'd like to donate monetarily. All money will be put towards making the channel better, be it new equipment or a special video, and let me know that you've donated, and maybe I can give you a shout out and a thanks. In the meantime, I've been Dish, and everybody out of the pool.